It's Marcin Kize. Today, staying on the topic of business assurance, we'll be looking at how to work up premium splits, for example, when multiple parties are involved in a buy and sell arrangement.
Hi, my name is Jeff Davis and I started the Cheers liquor store 20 years ago. This is my wife Ann. Ann and I have different business interests which we manage via our Davis Holding Company. At some point, we would like to retire completely.
My name is Amber and I have worked at this store since I graduated. I have a great business relationship with the Davis family and they have recently added me as a shareholder as part of their business continuation plan.
And my name is Sam. And just like Amber, I have recently become a shareholder in the business. You know, while it's fantastic that we may one day be able to buy out the Davies family as they plan for retirement, it's more the unplanned buyouts that I need to manage.
So, following from the facts that we've just heard in terms of the business structure, we know that there's Mr. Davis and Mrs. Davis, and they've started this business, which is the Cheers liquor store. But in terms of their shareholding, they don't own Cheers liquor store directly. They've created a holding company at this level called the Davis Holdings Company. Now, in that holding company, there could be a whole host of other business interests. They could own a restaurant, they could own properties, whatever the case may be. But for our purposes, we're looking at the business interest that the Davis hold via the Davis Holding Company in Cheers liquor store. So in holding their business interest in Cheers, they hold 60% shareholding, and the other shareholders are Amber and Sam. Amber hold 25% and Sam holds 15%. So that is the percentage shareholding within the Cheers liquor store structure. And just for our sake, which is more relevant to the second video, which I'll be doing when we actually do the calculations. But for now, we're just working out this premium splits. But for now, the company is worth 10 million rands. Now, taking into account the current company structure as it stands, now, if for example, in Cheers liquor store, they could say, look, if something happens to Sam, so if Sam passes away, the Davis Holding Company and Amber are interested in buying Sam's 15% on his death. So that's easy. So all Davis Holding Company and Amber have to do is take a life policy on the life of Sam, so that if Sam passes away, the Davis Holding Company and Amber would have the funds in order to purchase Sam out. So the second scenario could be, what happens if something happens to Amber? What if Amber passes away? Then Davis Holding Company and Sam will be interested in buying that shareholding. So therefore, a policy will be taken out on the life of Amber, so that on her passing, they'll have the funds in order to purchase her out. Now, in the third scenario, what happens if Amber and Sam are interested in buying the Davis Holding Company out in the event of their shareholders passing away? Now, again, as with all these videos, facts differ. I always try and put the most basic ones as a point of reference. So if for example, the parties decide that, look, we know that Mr. Davis and Mrs. Davis want to retire at some point. However, Amber and Sam cannot take a policy on Davis Holdings, the company, because the company can't die. It's not a human being. So what they could do is decide that they could take out a policy instead on the life of Mr. Davis, so that on the passing of Mr. Davis, that policy that Amber and Sam had taken out on his life will pay out to them, so that they can actually buy out David's holding company over here, the 60%. Now, Obviously, this requires a buy and sell agreement to be in place, and we've spoken about buy and sell agreements in one of the past videos, so please have a reference to that. But the point is, what we're trying to do here, because we know that we cannot insure a company, Mr. Davis up here becomes the life insured, so that on his death or disability for that case, that he becomes the trigger event that ensures that proceeds are paid to where they're needed, and that is Amber and Sam, because they have a liability to purchase the 60% shareholding that David's Holdings Company has in Cheers Liquor Store. So that contract there, that buy and sell agreement, creates that obligation. And for the funds to pay out, what do we need? A trigger event. So in our case, we've discussed that the trigger event is going to be just Mr. Davis, and that the policy will pay out. It could be for a host of reasons. Let's say, for argument's sake, Mrs. Davis says, on the passing of my husband, I'm not interested in running this company, the interest that the company has in Cheers Liquor Store. However, the converse could not be true, where Mr. Davis says, look, if Mrs. Davis, my wife, Anne, passes away, I'll still continue to run the business. So hence, we only need a policy on the life of Mr. Davis. So now we need to put in place a policy on the life of Sam as our first example. So we want a policy that if Sam passes away, that the policy will pay out to Amber and the Davis company. And so therefore how it's structured is that the owner of the company is going to be Davis Holdings and Amber. And then the life assured, which is going to be the trigger event for those funds to pay out, is going to be Sam over here. And then again, the payer of those premiums is going to have whatever the premium is. Let's say, for example, it's 1,000 rands. That premium is going to have to be split up between the owners of the policy, which is Davis Holdings and Amber. And again, the beneficiary, who's the party that needs the funds to buy the 15% shares of Sam, is Davis Holdings and Amber. So once we have the policy structure set up, as in here, we need to now figure out what are this policy is not owned in equal parts, and the payer of the policy is not going to be in equal parts, and the beneficiary is not going to be in equal parts, because the shareholding in Cheers Liquor Store is different. So now we need to figure out the premium splits. Now this is going to be an important calculation, because it drives, this percentage will drive what the value of the cover is applied for, and it will drive how the premiums are actually split up. So if you look at this policy, we know that it's held by the Davis Holding Company and Amber. The pair is Davis Holding Company and Amber, and so are their beneficiaries as well. So in order to work out this split, we need to now we know that Davis Holdings Company holds 60% shares in the company. So we put 60% in our formula down here. And now it is out of their shareholding with the other owner of the policy, which is, in our case, Amber. So if you take 60 plus 25, gives you this 85 down here. So 60 divided by 85 times 100, converted into a percentage, gives you 71%. So that's the policy. So that's the splits concerning Davis Holdings as a company. So if you look at the split for Amber, we know that Amber only holds 25% in Cheers Liquor Store. So we've got the 25% there, and it's out of their same shareholding, which is the 60 plus the 25, which gives you the 85 down here. And we convert it into a percentage, ultimately giving you a percentage of 29%. So if you were looking at an example of applying this percentage just to premium, let's say that the life policy on the life of Sam, that the premium payable at this part here is 100 rands. So that just simply means, now we've got to split this 100 rands between Davis Holding Company and Amber. So applying 71% to the 100 rands, that means the Davis Holding Company pays 71 rands of that premium, while Amber pays 21 to 29 rands on that premium. Now, following this video, we're going to do some calculations on the issues around managing those premiums We're going to do a separate video on that, but for now, the important thing is just to work out the percentages because they also apply to the life cover required. So you can look at the second policy. I'm not going to go through it in detail, but we would now, the life assured being amber. So we know that the Davis Holdings Company, again, together with Sam, is going to own that policy, and we're going to have to work out a premium split. Now, the Davis Holding Company holds 60% in the liquor store as usual. However, now their total shareholding between the Davis Holding Company and Sam is equal 75%. So that's the figure that we use, and then we convert it to 100, which means 80%. And when it comes to Sam's liability for premiums, for example, we know that his shareholding in the liquor store, Cheers Liquor Store, is 15%, and the total shareholding between Davis Holdings and Sam, we always negate the life assured, which is amber, is a total of 75, and then we just convert into a percentage, which means 20%. And then if you look at policy 3, which was the interesting scenario, because we couldn't cover Davis Holding Company, but we had an agreement that would instead take the life policy on the life of Mr. Davis based on the facts that the client gave us, so that he is the trigger event, so that the payout eventually happens. So that's the only unique feature on this policy, in the sense that the life assured is going to be somebody linked into a company. In our example, could be a trust. We could insure, for example, a trustee, that the trust, whatever asset that the trust holds, that if on the death of that trustee, usually a donor, that the trust will actually dispose of the assets to whoever the other parties are in the buy and sell. And then again, with the calculation in terms of Amber, we know that she holds 25% shareholding out of the 40%. Now, obviously, we don't take in Mr. Davis into account, because that's the person who, via the company, that holds 60%. We always negate that. So the shareholding between Amber and Sam, the 25 plus the 15, gives you the 40. And then we convert it into a percentage, gives you 62.5%. And then we know that Sam owns 15% in the company out of the 40, converted again, then it gives you 37.5%. Now, especially with respect to the third policy, and this is the following video I want to do. There's some discussion we're going to talk about around the complexities that come with that. Now, businesses have all types of continuation plans, and knowing that the Davis family, through their holding company, wants to at some point exit the company, they could have, for example, gotten in Amber and Sam through buying back some of the shares. Let's assume that they had actually originally owned Cheers Liquor Store 100%. So now, because they want to exit at some point, let's say they had done some share buybacks where the company, Cheers Liquor Store, would buy back its own shares in order to issue to management. Let's say Amber is part of the management, and so is Sam, marketing, operations, or whatever the case may be. So that's how they every time they hit their targets, there'll be some sort of shares issued, which the company would have got from the share buyback agreement. I'm just making the facts up. However, although that is good and well, what everybody is worried about in the scheme is that we still need to carve out some things that we cannot manage, like, for example, debt. If we know that the company is worth 10 million rands, and therefore the Davis Holding interest is 6 million rands, if Mr. Davis suddenly had to pass away, Amber and Sam might not have the 6 million rands available. They might have to borrow and all these complicated things. So in order to make sure that they're able to fund that, hence, putting in place these the different policies. Now, I think for now, what was just important is we should work out the different percentages and just have a look at the perspective of what the structure looks like. I think in the next video, now we're going to delve deep and start using those percentages and how how it relates to premiums, the policy actually, the sum assured, and the different taxes that we just have to navigate through. So that will be in the next video. But otherwise, I hope this helped for now. Cheers.